Well, good afternoon, Miss Yancey. My name is Michelle Abdulaziz, and we started Beyond Turf Food, Nutrition, and Culture. And we want to bring about talking about nutrition. How can we, obesity rampants our community, diabetes, high blood pressure, poor nutrition, so many things are going on. And, when I met you, you seemed like a person with a lot of knowledge about nutrition. And so wanted to have this interview with you to talk to you about nutrition, food, and culture.
Culture, food,
Nutrition.
and nutrition. Key words. Culturally, the food that we used to eat is no longer available for us. Open gardens, healthy gardens. For me, I watched my dad for years create gardens in our yard. Healthy food. Now, today, where's your healthy food? Where's your healthy food? That's number one. And we need to understand that when we talk about healthy food, I don't mean greens, cornbread, and whatever meat you decide. I'm talking about healthy meaning how was it grown, what seeds were used in order for those vegetables and fruit to have been produced. How were they produced? And today we have a whole different type of situation because the food that we have now is definitely not designed to be healthy for us. So the problem would be identifying what's healthy.
And how can we do that? I mean, it's just a lot of confusion out there. Do you recommend that people garden again?
Well, they're doing that anyway. The whole point is, where did you get your seeds? Are these seeds GMOs? And or are these seeds original, healthy seeds that don't have chemicals in it, organic?
Organic. Now that's a word that's very popular.
Right. So again, what's organic? I mean, everybody is running rampant with organic, but you still don't know whether or not you're eating organic as opposed to conventionally grown. That could be a GMO.
Organic can be a GMO?
It could be. It could be.
Okay.
I'm not trusting.
And for our audience who may not know what GMO is do you know?
Genetically engineered food.
Genetically modified?
Absolutely. And it's not necessarily a healthy way to go. And that's generally within a 25-mile radius of where we live. It's what we get to choose from, our food. So identifying food would be a source code that would be placed on the back of the food for you to know whether or not that food is healthy.
A source code.
Yeah, source codes are on your food that identifies the code starts with a 9 and is 5 digits long, and then the item is organically grown. That's how you identify what's organic. But after this session, they may change the coding so that, or confuse you in the coding, because it's not designed that we eat healthy.
I see. So I've always heard that they cut the nutrition in food and genetically modified the food so that they would have enough food to feed everyone. So
I don't believe that.
okay,
I believe in genocide. That's
Okay.
what I believe in. Because, you know, I don't see cutting food or creating food so that it can go around. I mean, what is that? Who thought of that to throw out here to the community?
so we have
When you-
more food but less nutritious.
You don't have any nutrition.
You don't have any nutrition.
And the majority of food that people are eating, so I'm looking at physical disabilities, mental disabilities,
Mental disabilities from lack of nutrition,
from poison.
basically from poison.
From poison. So if herbicides are in food, then what are you eating? You're not mentally or physically going to be developing anybody healthy. When I was a kid, we didn't worry about genetically engineered food. We could take an apple, take the seed from the apple and plant it in your yard and you get an apple tree.
Okay,
You plant anything with genetically engineered seeds that kills the dirt. So if it's killing the dirt, what does it do to you mentally and physically?
that's a good question. I think a lot of things do come about because of our nutrition. And so how can we start to identify like the non-GMO foods when we go to the grocery store and things like that?
Source codes on the food will indicate what the food substance is.
Source
Starting at a number 9
Okay,
is organically grown.
okay,
3, 4, those numbers like that at the beginning of the source code would not be healthy for you at all.
3 and 4 are not healthy.
No, those are source codes that are not, they're not healthy. If the code starts with 3, 4, or other numbers in a 4 and are 4 digits long, then this item is neither GMO or organic. So those are conventionally grown, many chemicals in the food, you know. And this means, well, fertilizer, herbicides, synthetic fertilizers, that's what that means. This is what 3 and 4 is.
Okay, so we want
And
to look
those
for food
numbers.
that begins with the number 9.
When
And
you're
that-
shopping.
When you're shopping.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it won't be around in your neighborhood. Not where you live, not within a 25-mile radius of where you live. No, you will not find that. No.
So this is one of the reasons why we have food deserts. If we can't find source code food that is of a quality, then we would have,
Well, that's the problem with I'm looking at the statistics in the city of Detroit, for instance, which is nationally. I'm quite sure it's just not for us, it's nationally. The pesticides and herbicides and synthetic fertilizers. If your kid is, especially meat, beef, I'm looking at mad cow disease. I truly believe holistically mad cow disease is alive and well. That's where the cattle are not free roaming and they're all in a corral together. So when they get infected and die off, they ground up the dead cows and feed them to the live cows. This is how you get mad cow disease. So it's not a healthy thing.
we have some food here.
Would you like one too?
Yes.
Well, I'll wait for you to try that. We have some delicious peppers and beans and cheese and sour cream.
Oh. Oh, great.
Yes, we're also cooking today chicken stew. with rutabaga and purple cabbage.
Right. Purple vegetables are another sign of healthy.
Purple vegetables are another
Yeah,
sign
you
of
get
health.
kale, purple kale,
Purple kale,
purple cabbage.
purple cabbage.
That's a good thing.
We live busy lives, and so things are convenient. So are you saying, giving us that old wisdom that it's time to take the time to make sure we have the right nutrition, going to the right source?
It's a necessity to have the right nutrition, because when you don't, you cheat yourself out of intelligence and good health, physically and mentally. Are you looking at this generation that we have now? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, the generation, yes.
And none of them, when they graduate from high school, the majority of them are not able to read or count.
Well, I've always heard that it's hard to learn on an empty stomach. And so if you're eating food that doesn't have a nutrition base,
If you
isn't
come
that
from a
almost
structure,
being hungry?
if you come from a structure that nobody developed you socially and emotionally at birth, and then added to that the ability to teach, to read, and to be familiar with numbers before you go to school. If you come from that, then you have the ability, along with good health, the right nutrition, you have a right to succeed. When you don't come from that, no, you're not going to succeed. You're going to graduate out of school because they're going to pass you along, some of them, a lot of them. And they won't even be able to get employment because they can't pass exams. The police department is looking for young black males, and they're having difficulties with that because they're not able to pass the test.
They need a second chance. They may have had some hard luck,
You're talking about tutorial programs for those who are having difficulty reading and doing mathematics. And tutorial programs
to
are
build
helpful.
critical thinking, to build, just not a tutorial, but to build critical thinking, to take that time to carve out critical thinking in our young people.
I'm at a loss because I'm looking at intelligence in a different way.
Okay?
I'm looking at intelligence as when you are born.
Okay?
Someone has to nurture and develop you, which is the mother.
Yes.
From that nurturing comes your development of social and emotional intelligence. And then the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. That's from the day that you bring that baby home.
So you're saying that once you've passed a certain age, you can't learn?
I asked you, are you talking a tutorial? And you said critical thinking, and critical thinking for me is basic mathematics and reading, because at this point, the population in the city of Detroit, for instance, is over 50% that are illiterate. The last bit of information that I got statistically.
Well, I think when we have a system where people haven't been given the ability to use critical thinking, that's a problem, because practice is a part of strengthening the brain muscle to have that capacity to critically think. And so when we come from environments that are oppressive and do not allow
Well, coming from oppressive environments. Every last one of us, look at our skin color. We have been oppressed for centuries. Centuries. We're still oppressed because we lack education. Period.
And we can start at the basis of nutrition to help build that capacity for education.
Absolutely. You have to be healthy mentally and physically from birth.
So what are some of your favorite foods?
I don't really have any real favorite foods. I don't have really, I don't want to do a lot of cooking, so I'm like throwing vegetables together and put them in a blender and move on, drink.
Okay, so juicing.
And yeah, for me, because I don't really have the time anymore. I don't want to take the time anymore to cook. Everybody is grown. Now, the only time that I put a meal together is when my kids say that they want something special. And then I'll do a special thing to put something together. But as far as me, getting up every day, going to the kitchen, that's over with. You know, I don't do that every day.
But
So
I like
keeping
how
myself,
you are incorporating juicing into your diet. And it's quick, it's healthy, it's not processed, it's nutrient packed. I think that's something that I need to start doing is juicing. And because I use processed food because it's quick. And it's
no way.
something that you are recommending that I shouldn't do.
There's no way.
And what are some of those stores?
I mean, you can go behind the Eastern Market on Orleans and get your fresh killed meat if you decide to eat that you want meat. You can go in Hamtramck and you can get your fresh killed meat there as well.
That's
where
why
other
I go to Hamtramck.
Yeah, that's
I
where
just
most of-
mentioned Myers as a place that a lot of us go. They've just built the Myers on 8 Mile, and so a lot of people go there. I've went there and
I
bought
know.
some yogurt, but I go to Hamtramck to a small store called Al Haramain. Have you ever been there?
Yes.
Yeah. And I love their Tuscan kale.
They're a little high, but, you know, they're pricey, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a good market.
They have some conventionally grown vegetables and fruit too. But
So is conventionally better than GMO?
no, they're about the same to me because herbicides and fertilizers are used to remove bugs off of the fruit and the vegetable. And that's what you want to stay away from.
Yeah, that's where I shop. I shop in Hamtramck.
The Eastern Market has farmers who have healthy food as well, fruits and vegetables. That's where we grew up, going to the Eastern Market until of
Yes.
late. And then now it's taken over by a different entity. But a lot of the people that I knew that were farmers, black farmers, they no longer exist at the Eastern Market anymore. They've been booted out. You know. So it's a whole different scenario in the Eastern Market, but some of the food sources most certainly healthier than in our neighborhoods.
In our neighborhoods. I did hear that they were starting a black farmers market on Wyoming and the Lodge.
Really?
Yeah, these things never come about. There's a lot of talk.
Oh
and
yeah, I did
buzzwords,
meet a young man.
But then, so this becomes about implementing. Now, I'm going to start. I'm going to take your advice, and I'm going to have Sister Rashida and I to go to the Eastern Market together and make that a tradition to start going back to the Eastern Market. The Eastern Market started getting trendy, and the parking down there is
It's ridiculous.
wild. And so I moved my shopping to Hamtramck, and where
Well,
I
you're
could-
good there
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
But for sure, these market trendy, I wouldn't call it trendy. I would call it anything but trendy. At one point, that's the only place we could go to shop, and that we found healthy food at one
yeah,
point,
our type of food, and that's what I want to talk to
which
you
was
about.
fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, what happened to the sweet potato and the yam, and those types of food?
Herbicides and GMO to death, and all these different vegetables. All of a sudden, we have a variety of pink and green and gray vegetables. Who's experimenting to the point, if I'm eating an apple, I don't need to know about 1,000 different breeds of apples. Who's experimenting to the point that you can give me different breeds of vegetables? A turnip. I'm used to looking at a turnip in one way. I don't want to see a cousin of a turnip. Who's developing vegetables to that degree that they're changing or modifying genetically vegetables and fruits? I ask myself those questions, and I've not gotten a decent answer. That's what everybody should be asking.
Yes, yes.
All these different varieties of beets, and I've only known one beet, red. So
It's just like the seasons of fruits and vegetables. I remember the pomegranate came out in September, cherries in June, oranges in the winter. And so when we have modified our food to get it anytime in any place, is this a good thing? That's really...
well, obviously it's not. I'm looking at generations of us that are not able to function on a regular basis, on a normal capacity, definitely educationally. I'm still stuck on the statistics that I read, especially with young men, young black men in the city of Detroit. That level is high.
I think it's a call to action, Ms. Yancey, that we need to get together and do something about our food source and what we have available to us. Because, we can do that if we put our efforts together and come together. This is a serious call to action.
You would
Very
think.
serious.
You
Yeah,
would think,
I think it
especially
is.
when I look around and I see people with little bitty babies.
I think starting off with food,
Diet.
nutrition, and culture is where we need to start. And I'm going to make a commitment to my community, to be here as a leader in the community and to serve the community, a servant leader. But I'm going to take some stance about convenience, because I think convenience has brought about my situation of being obese, because it's just convenient. And I need to start taking that time to prepare and do a better job at not reaching for convenience. A seed has been planted, and it is about choice that we have taken on the self-destruction. That's the way I look at it.
Well, it is not. It's socialization. You've had no one in your family for centuries to gear you in a direction of holiness. What I mean by that is you
But I
need
don't
to be
think that can
sufficient.
across the board for every people in our community. I don't believe that. We have to solve it. And that's what Talbia Inc. is about. It's about bringing these 8 programs for metacognition. Metacognition is to have higher order thinking. When you have higher order thinking, you can then begin to overcome. And that's the way out.
True. And how is this going to happen with us with these closed minds and these warped thoughts?
One at a time. One at a time. It's hard work. One at a time. Well, it's been wonderful talking to you, and we have went the whole full circle. We talked about some real hard issues, some things. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think it can happen.
I hope.
Well, I want to thank you.
So that we don't end up being zeroed out.
Well, hope is better than optimism, I heard.
Yeah.
Hope is something, if you have hope, that's a strong thing to have. And culturally, we wouldn't have survived without our ancestors having hope. And so we have to keep hope for the next generation.
I'm hoping.
Thank you, Miss Yancey.
Thank you.